Ukraine urgently needs help from the United States of America. The President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, officially addressed the President of the United States, Donald Trump, in an open letter today. Zelensky asked Trump and the U.S. Congress to urgently supply missiles for Patriot surface-to-air missile systems and other air defense systems amid intensified Russian attacks. In addition, Zelensky emphasized the importance of, quote, America hearing Ukraine. That's why he is forced to reach out to Trump through an open letter, apparently hinting that other channels of communication simply no longer work. As you know, this sends a bad message to the world. Zelensky assured that Ukraine will not lose, but the question is how much longer this war will last, which will now affect Europe as well. But it seems that Donald Trump's answer is already obvious. Unfortunately, today the United States did not join a statement by Ukraine at the United Nations, which condemned Russia's threat to carry out systematic strikes on Kyiv. At the same time, Zelensky once again repeated that the Kremlin has decided to resort to mobilization again. I'm Pechiy, let's discuss this together. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, like this episode, and leave any comment under this video so that YouTube's algorithms will recommend this episode to as many viewers as possible. I would appreciate your comments. And subscribe to my Telegram channel Pechiy News, the link is in the description of this video. So, Volodymyr Zelensky addressed an open letter to Donald Trump, Congress, and the American people asking for missiles for the Patriot air defense systems, but not only that. Next, I will present the main points from this open letter. Zelensky began with words of gratitude, quote, On this Memorial Day, May 25th, I decided to write you this letter. Well, as you understand, the letter was written a few days ago. In Ukraine, it has already become a tradition to address the United States on this day with words of gratitude. We know that the world would be much darker without American leadership and determination, and we deeply appreciate everything you do to protect freedom and human lives. On the eve of Memorial Day, during the night of May 24th, Russia carried out an extremely brutal strike on Ukraine. Every day we see how much harm is caused by terror from the sky. That is why we value every step taken to support Ukrainian air defense so much. But even while under attack, we do not leave our friends without support. When Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait turned to us, I said that Ukraine could not stand aside. And then Zelensky noted that he sent Ukrainian specialists to help strengthen security and air defense in the Middle East region, including the protection of American bases. Iran also noticed this because, as you remember, it threatened Ukraine. Next is another quote from Zelensky. We have made significant progress in defending against all types of drones, but Ukraine has not yet established its own production of air defense systems. When it comes to air defense, we rely on our friends and partners around the world. And when it comes to protection against ballistic missiles, we rely almost exclusively on the United States of America. Patriot systems remain the most effective means against all types of Russian ballistic missiles, and in Ukrainian hands, they have demonstrated their importance. Now we are seeing signals from Moscow that Russia is preparing to intensify its campaign of terror against Ukraine. We understand that there is currently high demand for Patriot missiles in other regions. We understand that the United States is responsible for its own defense and for protecting its allies and partners. We understand that Europe must take on more responsibility. For us, as a nation fighting for survival, there is nothing more painful than seeing empty Patriot batteries. I am asking you for help in protecting the Ukrainian sky from Russian missiles. Ukraine is ready to purchase a certain number of Patriot systems and interceptors for them. And then Zelensky reminded and acknowledged that it was Donald Trump's decision to provide javelins in 2018 which helped stop Russian tank columns in 2022. He expressed gratitude for the supply of HIMARS, ATACMS missiles, Bradley vehicles, and F-16 fighter jets. And then Zelensky noted that Ukraine will not lose in any case. The only question is how long the war will last and how Washington will respond to it. Here is another quote. Vladimir Putin has already lost in historical terms. In the 5th year of the war, Russia has not been able to defeat a country supported by the democratic world. Today, the armed forces of Ukraine are the largest army in Europe and the only one with combat experience ready to defend Europe. We still have one extremely difficult challenge that Europe cannot handle on its own, the Russian ballistic threat. We in Ukraine will not lose. But as long as Putin retains even one significant advantage in conventional weapons, he will avoid conventional diplomacy. Today, ballistic missiles remain his last advantage on the battlefield. Therefore, on behalf of the Ukrainian people, I ask the President and Congress to help us defend ourselves against Russian terror. Well, the very fact of such an appeal in an open letter, rather than through private diplomacy, is a bit alarming, because it shows that the usual channels of communication with Trump have simply stopped working, and that's a worrying trend. And against this background, I have to mention two more pieces of news. The United States of America did not join Ukraine's statement at the UN condemning Russia's threat to carry out systematic strikes on Kyiv. And the document states the following, quote, "We call for a complete, immediate, and unconditional ceasefire, and also emphasize the urgent need to take specific humanitarian measures." And this statement was supported by almost 50 countries, including European states, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and South Korea. But the United States of America refused to support such a call. And while I'm recording this episode, Russia is once again attacking Ukraine with ballistic missiles and Kinzhal missiles. And now, The Economist writes that the Ukrainian authorities have begun preparations for a prolonged war. Supposedly, Volodymyr Zelensky has ordered preparations for another 2 to 3 years of fighting. According to the publication, at the beginning of the year, Kyiv still hoped that negotiations mediated by the US could at least lead to a temporary agreement. Kyiv was ready to discuss the withdrawal of troops from Donbas on the condition of mutual withdrawal of forces, while the Kremlin demanded a unilateral withdrawal of the Ukrainian armed forces and refused to accept security guarantees for Ukraine that involved the deployment of troops from other countries. Vladimir Putin did not approve any of the proposed agreement options. As a result, let me remind you, on May 22nd, the United States announced it was withdrawing from the negotiation process, and in the office of the President of Ukraine, it seems they are indeed preparing for it. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. If you want to support this YouTube channel, you can do so by donating any amount through the links and payment details in the video description or by using the QR code on your screen. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.